The Bible. Is it hard to understand?
When it comes to reading the Bible, the first thing that comes to mind is the fact that this is the Word of God.
The seals have been broken, and the truth is here.
And when we go throughout the scriptures, when we go throughout extra biblical records, we find that the language that God employed, that He used to create the heavens and the earth, was the Hebrew language.
Christ said, I came for the lost sheep of the house of Israel. But yet no one, no religious leader, no religious church out there anywhere can now identify the 12 tribes of Israel. Can we? God is quite simple, but it seems as if man makes understanding Him hard.
What are those mysteries?
The truth of your book and the truth will make you free. The Hebrew and Bible Academy, you're invited.
Don't wake me up.
Shalom, shalom.
Midstream in a dream, don't touch, I've been taken up. Being shown in a vision, curiosity got me stuck.
Come on in.
7 hands, 10 horns on the waters, raising up. Raising up. I see crowds, flames and floors. Is it a war at the door? I've been searching for it. I can't get it out of my head. I see the stars are falling down. There's tempers upon my face.
Come on in.
The chase goes on and on. I'm not giving it up.
Shalom, shalom.
I'm not giving it up. 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 I'm at the point understanding dreams are the real time. Reason why they wake me up. I try moving on, but my body is stuck. My conscience is raised, and angel pick me up. Awaken from this matrix. Looking down on the globe, blood dripping from his robe. I know he can fix this.
See a
I see
burning
a burning
Rome.
Rome, and our people coming home. Can I please get a witness? Witness, I'm not coming down till I get this. These predictions can't be superstition. The decision being shown in the vision. It just ended. Yeah, I can't.
He said, I see a burning Rome and our people coming home. Shalom, brothers and sisters. I'm Elder Ricard Shiar of the Gathering of Christ Church. Yes, we're going into the Sabbath. For those who have already entered into Sabbath, Shabbat Shalom throughout the earth, and the brothers who are already, brothers and sisters on the outside of America who's already gone through the Sabbath, Shabbat Shalom, who's in the Sabbath. And yes, here is our weekly Patreon update. Okay, as you can see, that's right before you. It's right before you. We've been sold out by sellouts. We have been sold out by sellouts. Okay? And the Bible prophesied this. Okay? Now, before I go into that, let me just make an announcement. Okay? And the announcement I must make is that we're now in enrollment period for the next academy. All right? We're now in enrollment. Okay? Now, for those who have been in the academy multiple times, we want your feedback. Please send an email to let us know, okay, whether or not you understand. Let us know how this academy have helped you, whether or not this academy was really on a level compared to the prior academies, and if there's more we can do to add based on your observations, okay, within the academy, whether or not there's something you would like us to include for future lessons within the academy, okay? And this is for the academy followers only, okay? Each academy is an academy within itself where more information is actually divulged upon. All right. So I want to make sure we get the proper feedback so that we can make the experience better as it goes along. Like I said, we're making it to be more interactive and all that for future academies. I'm talking about we're putting more money in for a better platform as far as behind the scenes editing, standing up class settings, and all those others to make it a better experience. But I still would need your feedback to add to that for the next academy. So if you'll do that, we will highly appreciate it. If you like it the way it is and you want to just commend us, not us, but commend the academy, because there's many people who are working behind the scenes for how it's already constructed. We need to hear that input also. Okay, so please send an email to the academy email you have within your packet, and let us know what you think. Okay. The next academy, we'll be going into it from a more ecclesiastical standpoint, precept linking. So each lesson, we will go into the Bible with the lessons, but give you the reason for how we go from one precept to the next. This way, you'll get into what? You'll get into a routine on how to link precepts on your own when studying. That will be the full framework, how to navigate through that Bible on your own. Okay? Yes. So that will be the theme of the next academy, and we have a lot more lessons coming for you as we continue to make the academy experience everything it should be. Okay? Now, if you are interested in this, go to historytimes.org. What the academy entails is what? The Hebrew at 9 a.m. by Elder Loya. Then Shapad and I come in for the academy news. Let me tell you, this news is not like any other on the earth, where we'll give you the news that's reported through mainstream, but let you know exactly what they're saying and planning through the news, and then give it that prophetic understanding to what we need to do now that the enemy told us what they're doing. That news is not like any other news on earth. And then, that's right, you open up your email, you get your PDF with all of the lessons laid out from 1 week to the 12th week, where you follow us through precepts on that week's particular lesson. Okay? And it's a lot of work that goes behind it. So many people are working to make sure this experience become a life-changing experience. And usually what happens is it's more than what brothers and sisters could have imagined when it comes to a Bible experience. And at that time, brothers and sisters began to refer others. Okay. Because it's not just us opening up the Bible and reading it. It's an experience with history, archaeology, okay? The sources that you need. We cite, that's right, universities and all of that, so you can have the empirical facts to back up everything you're learning for yourself, okay? So if this interests you, please get in the academy. Go to historytimes.org to enroll. And thank you, Elder Dell, for actually putting the link in the chat, okay? Now, what are we talking about today? And this coming Sunday, because I've put together 50 biblical laws of power, okay? I've already put together 50 biblical laws of power that I'm working on for an audio book, actually, okay? And what I'm going to do this weekend, before going into the lesson, I'm going to give a new 7, okay, for the biblical laws of power. I already gave out 7 on one of my lessons. Sometime I'll be chopping at the bit and just put it out there, because I can't resist when it's detailed information our people could actually benefit from. Okay, but this week I'm going to be dropping 7, a new 7, okay, for the biblical laws of power. All right. Now, one of the biblical laws of power that I have that for application is the fact that money is a defense. The love of money, the love of money is the root of all evil, right? But money in of itself, when it's utilized as the Bible intended us, as far as bartering and actually operating in proper checks and balances, money can be a defense, right? Like, for instance, this is why they don't want to give us reparations. Okay, by giving us reparations, we would have the money to actually set a political component in place to rival them on the political level, right? Where we'll have a constituency to protect us politically. And when they began to bring up certain, I would say, legislation that affect our way of life, we would have a protective pushback having the money. We wouldn't ask for equality because why? We would have the money to set our own police force in defense like you would see within the Jewish community. So we wouldn't have to worry about equal justice and all these other things because we'll be able to execute our own justice in defense. Well, guess what? None of that could be possible without finances. So they're claiming they want equal justice and they want justice legislation pushed to help our people when they're straight lying. If they wanted that, they would give us reparations and then we can use our finances to protect ourselves. And under a hate crime law, we would be able to defend our lives if we are assailed or if someone was to attack us. Okay? Because you have the right under what? Every civil law within the world to protect your life under self-defense. But if you don't have the money, you cannot set up a defense mechanism. That's why they don't want to give reparations, and that's why they don't want to do a hate crime, give us specifically a hate crime bill, because we would have the money to defend ourselves and we would be able to execute judgment, street judgment, when someone comes from someplace else who seek to harm our person. Okay? So one of the ecclesiastical, biblical laws of power is that money is a defense. Okay? And I'm going to be going over 7 this coming Sunday before the lesson, a new 7. Now, of course, it's time in a couple of minutes to actually, go over to my Patreon so that we can talk about something, okay? So that we can go into our Patreon conversation. But before I go there, it would be amiss if I didn't, brothers and sisters, if I didn't go into the fact that our people have been sold out by sellouts, right? And it happened right up under our noses, unbeknownst to our people. How the sellouts were strategically put in position to destroy us. What you see in the inner city today was planned. It was planned. And it could not have happened. When you see the regentrification, when you see other people coming in and being prioritized over the people, our people who built the country. And when you see that the governments are willing to finance these people they could care less about over us, you'll understand that this was the strategic plan by the Democrat Party since the inception of the civil rights movement. Understand, the civil rights movement scared them. Okay? Because why? They didn't have a hand in how this organically grew from the ground roots with a fundamentally spiritual foundation being led by those who believe in Christ and follow the Bible. See, they had no hand in this, so they had to infiltrate it by them creating on the outside of us the NAACP. Okay? The NAACP is not, I repeat, is not a black organization. It's an infiltration organization. They were afraid of the grassroots gathering with a spiritual foundation that could slow up the world's economy if what? If our concerns weren't met first. So they had to infiltrate us through these organizations like the NAACP, like what you would call today Black Lives Matter, that has nothing to do with Black Lives Matter. Our people, the same people who created the NAACP, created Black Lives Matter. And through this, how do they do that? How do they do it? Listen to this clearly, folks. They put people who hate us, who hate the idea of family, morality, and God in high positions, okay, within our communities. They put them as social workers. They put them over our social programs. They put them over the family courts, right? And they strategically destroyed our communities from the inside out without us actually recognizing it. You can't put people who hate family and God over social programs. It doesn't matter what their education is. Their core ideology is a hate against God and God's people. And these are the people we trust to resolve our issues in the community. And they did this. They've been doing this since what? Since the Civil Rights Movement. And this is why they're funding LGBTQ and all these others and making them the gatekeepers over our community, because all the finances are funneled to them when and let me make this clear. Someone can choose to have the lifestyle they would like to choose. That's on them. That's between them and their God. But when you have any group of people who has a negative view on the morality of the Bible and against our God that's written in the Bible, they should not be in a position to guide our community through social programs or another, because what? There's a moral contradiction there. And under Obama and others, they put those who hate our God in positions as vanguards who become sellouts, who have utterly decimated our communities. And these are the leaders you see that are in position over the major cities today. We don't have no true representation. We have sellouts. And the Bible told us about this within our people. There are a few people in our community that are willing to sell out all of their people for themselves. And God told us about this. The Bible tells us about this, right? It tells us in Israel's irresponsible leaders within the Bible, okay? It speaks of this, right? What does it say here? It tells us here, it says, all ye beasts of the field, Isaiah 56:9, to devour all you beasts in the forest. His watchmen are blind, and they are ignorant. They are all dumb dogs. They cannot bark, sleeping, lying down, loving to slumber. Yea, they are greedy dogs which can never have enough, and they're shepherds that cannot understand. They all look to their own way, every one for his gain from his quarter. So the Bible tells us that there would always be sellouts. There were sellouts while we were in Egypt who seek to have political status for themselves. And through that, not only do they destroy our people inwardly, they are right out embarrassments that the so-called powers that be put them in place intentionally to show that we are unqualified to lead. And they cherry pick unqualified nut jobs, greedy dogs to lead our people. I look at that woman that they have running around out of her mind in Chicago, one of those small towns in Chicago, a public embarrassment. Okay. I look at all these others in position who claim to represent our people, who are allowing immigrants, Asians and others in our communities, knowing that these people, I believe, are strategically put in place to actually replace our people. And the majority of them, after listening to what the news was telling them, will not be around too long anyway. I believe these dirty, the Bible call them greedy dogs, were put in position so that they can do what? So that they can now put in legislation to replace our people and make it with our people, black people, Judah, in particular in these inner cities, will not have any recourse claim, so that because they can always point to the fact that it's one of our people in position doing it and not the dominant society. Greedy dogs. And that leads us here. Folks, trouble is on the horizon. I'm going to tell y'all what this means before I go over to Patreon. Here's an article by Evie, predominantly a woman, a woman's magazine or website. 45% of women are expected to be single and childless by 2030, per recent projections. Recent data predicts that 45% of women between the ages of 25 and 44 will be single and childless by 2030 rolls around. The number of single women in the U.S. is expected to rise 1.2% every year. What do they know? Why? They'll never tell you the why, but they'll always give you what's expected, their projections, but they'll never give you the why. And what this means for our women in particular. That's why I give what happens with P. Diddy, what happens with Bill Cosby, what happens with all of these people where we become the face of the evil patriarchy. I give it all a side eye. You know why? Because men are more intelligent and calculating than the news would ever tell you. What do they know concerning these projections? That men aren't buying what the world powers are selling when it comes to relationships anymore. It's a liability. It's a liability. It's a trap. They have strategically, through these greedy dogs who put in place, made relationships a liability for men, where a man can get into a relationship and the only thing he can think of that if he work hard and by the time he has his upward mobility and finances, that the woman that he cared for is in position under the government to destroy and take everything. Men have been more calculating and moving. Okay? So now they can project this because men have responded to evil feminist ideology. And what does that mean? There'll be no protection for women. Therefore, the armies will have their way, which was their plan the whole time. This is why I give a side eye, folks. I give a side eye again to what's going on with P. Diddy, Me Too, R. Kelly, and all of this mess, because they could care less about children as far as we can see. If they cared about children, then the black young men in the inner cities wouldn't be reading at a 4th grade level, while all the tax money is prioritizing the schools in the rural and suburban areas. So don't give me some crap that you care about what the violation of a young woman 30, 40 years ago. And guess what? I don't agree with P. Diddy or anything. But how it is for our people, they can move the statutes of limitations at which they can change the law at will when it comes to coming against one of our people. How many women out there who are scorned or didn't like the way a relationship went down, that now these lawyers can now seek out once they want to target someone's finances and say, if you have anything negative to say about this person, call Weiss Goldberg. Okay, Weiss, Goldberg, and Goldberg. I don't care if it was 30, 40 years ago. Call us and we will take care of it for you. We'll move the statutes of limitations to take everything a man have worked for so that their children won't have anything in the future. See? That's what y'all don't see. And guess what? They don't tell you the why. Which brings us right back to this right here. Why are 45% of women, why will they be single and childless? Why the men aren't choosing this deal anymore? They'll never be honest concerning this, folks. So since men have wised up, these young men, because these young men are in a sympathetic, loving and caring, and guess what? These young men now don't have the hope of a long-term relationship like we once had. Okay? This new generation of men understand the deal. They have seen it play out. They have seen it played out from either side and realize that when it comes, the stack is dealt against men intentionally to rob them in our community of generational wealth. And if we have generational wealth, they will target you, move the statute of limitations, and then find someone who can be 50, 60 years old. It's the Bill Cosby thing all over again, who probably just had upset and scorned because you weren't with this person, who's willing to take down their people, their own people. Okay? So understand what they're doing right now, folks. Understand what they're doing. Why aren't they doing this with the Beatles? You know how many young girls underage supported the Beatles that was going on back then allegedly and they were dealing with? Why didn't they pull back the Statue of Liberties for these 70 and 80-year-old women who were sleeping around with the Beatles or Elvis? I need y'all to think about this for a second. These were teenagers that were funding rock and roll and that were groupies amongst all of these. Why aren't they pulling back the statute of limitations for them? See, but they know if they make any law, that it more so affects the poor and the targeted people more so than a dominant society. So if they can pull the statute of limitations, that gives them what? That gives them the autonomy and the legal right to go after who they will. The people that would have money that would actually support their own people during a time of serious persecution. They're trying to stop those with upward mobility and finances, our people having that money to support our children as a defense against what they're planning against us. And that leads me to my last scripture before going over to Patreon. Ecclesiastes 7:12. Women are going to have to start speaking up and saying they don't want none of this. They don't want none of this. Sisters are going to have to stand up and say, listen, We don't want you representing us and going back and cherry picking who you would like to attack past the statute of limitations for justice, because it's not for us, because at the end of the day, our black women don't get anything anyway. And they're making it where the men are frustrated concerning whether or not they could actually have a relationship going forward. What if I say something to this woman now and I build something 30 years later that she can turn around and attack? Should I even speak to her? Should I be cautious with every woman I run into now? Can I trust the fact that I may have a relationship that goes wrong? Can I trust the fact that she may come around 40 years later and steal everything that I built for the family I have at that time? I need y'all to think about that. The enemy has. They're making it where they understand men are logical and calculating. And the reason why you see most women will be childless and most women will be single is because men have actually did the what? They have done the calculations and realized that the government has set women up to trap and destroy men. Not all. Not all. Let me make that clear. But most. And the only thing they need is enough women out there who are scorned, that's down bad, and really things aren't going right for them at that particular moment. And they say, by the way, do you know this guy who's a multi-billionaire? Matter of fact, have you ever had a bad relationship with him? Call Weiss, Roseman, and Weiss. And just tell us exactly what happened 30, 40 years ago. Okay, and we'll get you justice. Ecclesiastes 7 and 12. And then the money that would go towards his children, his daughters, to help our people in a time of trouble will go directly to the people who are responsible for destroying our community. It'll go right back to them. And guess what? That woman doesn't get justice because her community has now been destroyed. So they have broke the trust between man and women by putting these evildoers in position over family court and social programs within our communities. Let me end it here before going over to Patreon. I need to talk to y'all today. Ecclesiastes. Let me get it here 1 second. Ecclesiastes 7 and 12 reads, for wisdom is a defense, and money is a defense. But the excellency of knowledge is that wisdom giveth life to them that have it. Because wisdom is nothing. Money is, let me tell you, money is nothing without wisdom. And that's the mistake a lot of these guys in position with notoriety and finances, that's the mistake they make. Is to get money and only believe and only to believe that you are above the law and walk carelessly. You can have all the money. Look at P. Diddy and all that. But they didn't know that someone was keeping a dossier on those parties. You didn't know one day they would use that, finagle the law and change the law to come after you later. So money means nothing without a defense. And you have to realize there's two sets of rules. There's one set of rules for Esau and another set of rules for Jacob. P. Diddy can't do what Clive Davis does. See, I'm laying it out here on so I'm not absolving or excusing P. Diddy's behavior, but I'm showing you how at the end of the day, they're coming to take the finances you've worked for, knowing that our people need money as a defense. At this time, more so than ever, it's no time for them to reach back 30 and 40 years and take anything from our people at a time we're getting replaced by immigrants. This is strategic. They're taking the money away knowing that there'll be no defense for the migrants who are in the country to replace us. Now, speaking on the sellouts who are in political positions and others in our communities, I have something that I would need to show that I can only show on Patreon. And it has the numbers, finances that were given to doctors. Who also, these particular doctors, I'm going to talk about it here, are sellouts within the communities, within our community. And I'm going to talk about that on Patreon, sellouts on every level, including doctors, some doctors. Not all, there's some good doctors out there, but when y'all see what I have on Patreon, it's going to blow you away. How they put these evildoers in place over our social programs, our schools, family courts, and these were the same people in place when the rollout happened. Okay? I'm speaking in code right now, but I hope most who understand what I'm saying get what I'm saying. If not, come over to Patreon. I'm going to talk. I'm about to do my Patreon conversation, and I hope you brothers and sisters before the Sabbath come in sharing this information with me. It's going to blow you away. Sisters, I'm going to say this now. They've always hated you. The enemy have always hated you. And they were looking at every turn to turn you from your men. And it has nothing to do with the relationships going bad. They understood that you, in these last days, would bring forth the prophets. There's no sin common to man. There's no relationship when it comes to gone bad, or whether or not somebody was scorned or treated bad by a man, or whatever the case is. There's nothing, sister, that you have experienced that other women from every race hasn't experienced. They'll make you believe that what you experience when it comes to relationships with men, black men in particular, is different than what their women experience. The only difference is the response. That's the only difference. How our women respond to us compared to how their women who are hurt responds to them. That's the only difference. They tricked our women. They've tricked you and made you believe that what you're dealing with it can only happen by dealing with a black man. They tricked you. That was an evil, deceitful thing. Okay? I need you to look around real quick. Al Pacino. He had a wife. You think his wife is satisfied with how things played out? Al Pacino is almost 100 years old, got a 28-year-old woman. and just had a baby. You think the woman that he was with doesn't feel slighted or scorned? Why you don't hear from her? I can go on and on and on. Jeff Bezos. I can go on and on and on. Bill Gates divorced his wife. You don't hear anything negative from her against him. I can go on, but they'll make you believe that if you had a bad relationship, it's because you were with a black man. When this happens across the board everywhere. And why did they put it out there that way? So that at the end of it, relationships will become what? Unattainable, to the point where we would believe that we're enemies. It was a time that even if relationships didn't work, the man and woman would work amicably for the sake of legacy and family, regardless of whether or not they could get along with one another. Something happened. They funded the descent, knowing that they would replace our people and bring in a horde of people who are family and traditionally oriented that could phase us out, because we, as the children of Judah, man and woman, can't put our personal feelings to the side and forgive. So yeah, that's the lesson I'm going into tomorrow. So that's what you see with P. Diddy and others. They're not going to stop there. I'm going to tell you right now, they're seeking to move the statute of limitations on everything so that they can reach back to what? At a time when it was Freaknik and all that, and take every last dime, any man who built and learned from that point, away from the men who can actually fund our people at the end of this spiritual war. Entertainers and athletes are the only upward and fluid people with finances that can actually help us, since they don't want to deal with reparations. They don't want to give us reparations. You think they don't know that? So now they're looking and targeting those who was at those parties back then, moving the statute of limitations so we'll have no financial defense against the enemies who destroying us. And D Nice is correct. There is too much sexual immorality, and you have to look at that as a tool by the devil also. Because obviously through sexual immorality, they can actually get what? A dossier to use against you at any time in case you thrive and work beyond the low standards they've placed us under. They'll always promote sexual immorality because they can use it against you later. I'll see you on Patreon. And I'm coming with the information on these doctors over on Patreon. Shalom. And I'll see you tomorrow. My lesson: did Adam lose Eve? Shalom. Go to historytimes.org. I want to see you all in this next academy. Brand new lessons. I'm bringing it from an entirely different angle on how to link in the Bible and understand it prophetically for yourself. If you haven't already, I'm going to give you new tools and insight to be able to do so. Learn, grow. Shalom. See you on Patreon. historytimes.org.